Hello again, Dan Alasso, Making History, and this is day 4 of my retrenchment adventure. And that means that I have 277 days to go before I end my Bemidji State University professorial career. Today is Saturday, and I am getting ready to meet with my Obsidian book club and talk with my friends in the Midwest, in California, and even in the Middle East. And we're talking today about Naomi Oreskes and Eric Conway's recent book, The Big Myth. And I should just clarify that this will post first thing Sunday morning. So my documentary of my experience with this whole retrenchment thing is slightly delayed. So I write the journal throughout the day as things happen and as I have ideas. And then I produce a post that collects the parts that I think are interesting and kind of reports them out. So along these lines, today I've been sort of collating my thoughts about my research and my writing projects. When I had lunch with my dean a week or so ago, and she hinted that things might be getting bad at BSU, my initial reaction and kind of what I told her was that I'm going to plan on continuing my pursuit of the historical projects that I think are interesting and are important. I even sort of expressed a little bit of regret that I hadn't made more progress on these projects when things seemed to be going very smoothly at BSU. Obviously, because I've now been retrenched, I'm going to miss the opportunity to get tenure and take a sabbatical and travel to archives and really produce another book during that sabbatical, or more than one even. I'm even going to miss the ability to use my travel expense budget to do a little bit more research, which I was able to do during the semesters that I was working. BSU isn't a research university by any means, not even remotely. I don't even know another faculty member who has published an academic monograph. But even so, about a third of our professional development criteria that we plan for and report on every year, and which we're judged on, has to do with research and publication. Mostly that means articles or conference papers. So there was actually money baked in that was available to faculty to travel to conferences or to conduct research. Now that I'm retrenched, of course, I'm not even sure I'm going to have another chance to be faculty in higher ed. If I don't, what becomes of my research? Obviously, if I become a UPS driver or a salesman or something like that any reading that I would be able to do would be strictly as a hobby, and I would have other full-time claims on my energy and my attention. If I do something in higher ed that isn't history related, such as promoting open educational resources or something like that, then my research would still be sort of a hobby. Maybe I could at least work on history-related OER projects. If I was earning a living producing historical material for a popular audience on the web, a lot of my research might turn out to be relevant. Notice I didn't say, if I get a book deal. I guess maybe I shouldn't abandon that idea immediately or rule it out of hand, but I'm not really a fan of mainstream publishing as it's currently constituted, and I think it would be a bit difficult for me to generate the energy to approach agents or editors, for example, to write proposals, that sort of thing. I've been there, I've done that. Hello, kitty cat. Here's the other one. I've been there and I've done that with the Yale University Press, and it didn't really make that much of an impression on me. It didn't change my life, and of the types of things that interest me, I feel like I would have much more luck finding an audience online than convincing a publisher that my ideas fit with their audience. I've been aware of and I've been interested for quite a while now with the differences between writing for academic audiences and writing for the public. I think that some of the historical material that interests me has a little bit more of an academic flavor. Although I think, and I certainly hope, that I could tell a story about almost all of that stuff that interests me that wouldn't bore a regular person to death. However, I do recognize that some of the stuff that I'm pursuing may be much more resonant and compelling to an audience on Substack, for example, or on YouTube than others of it. I just did a historiographical post, actually, on the Bavarian Illuminati that a viewer of the video responded to with hopes that I would expand on that theme. So there are certainly some topics that are sexier than others in the online history space. Now, that doesn't mean that I want to devote all my time to pursuing clickbaity topics that don't interest me at all, and that I don't think make a meaningful contribution to helping how we understand the past inform how we understand our lives today. But it does mean that I think I ought to try to be aware of the relative sexiness of topics that interest me. If I want to develop a bigger following and maybe even earn a living publishing online, I need to find a place where my interests and those of my potential readers or viewers can converge. So I suspect that of the 3 topics that I've been kind of steadily working on over the past year, transatlantic secular radicals may have the least extensive potential following. I do think that there has in the past been a fairly substantial international secularist movement online, but I think that may be less prevalent in the present than it was, say, a decade ago. When I first published my Knowlton biography, I did get quite a bit of attention from these folks. I even went to a convention. But interest may not be as widespread for that as I would like it to be. Similarly, I think there may be some localized interest in aspects of my project about the white pine forest throughout North America and the history of the lumber industry. And if I told stories in the right way, I might find some of those audiences. The one thing that I've been working on that I think might generate a large online following is the network that I've been trying to create of the plutocrats during the first Gilded Age, which I've been trying to extend forward and connect with the present. I think there's a lot of resonance with what's going on today, not only networks of elites running the world from the shadows, or at least trying to stay out of the spotlight of attention and pretend that we live in a democracy. I think that there is a lot of resonance between the past and the present, between the first Gilded Age and the new Gilded Age, in that sense. And also, I think that the types of people who opposed them in the past and the methods and techniques that they employed might be interesting for people today as well. And as I said, I spent this morning reviewing the first few chapters of The Big Myth in preparation for my book club meeting. So clearly, people are writing best-selling books on topics adjacent to the type of thing that I'm pursuing, and people are interested in reading that material. So maybe I can find a path to develop this into a form that both contributes to historical understanding and captures its share of eyeballs. It is actually very interesting to me that thinking about this seems to suggest to me that in this new information ecosystem, there is a much different relationship evolving between creators and consumers and the way feedback happens. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. And of course, if you're watching this space, you'll be among the first to know. So as I've said over the last couple of days, if this interests you, if this journey that I'm taking, this little retrenchment adventure over the next 277 days interests you, then I would encourage you to subscribe and to support my efforts here, or to tell your friends about it, or to contact me and let me know what it is that interests you, what it is you think that I ought to spend some time thinking about and talking about. So, thanks very much for listening. I will see you again tomorrow.